Hiya, Bobby! You are tuned into the you are tuned into the failing frequency. My name is Ken.
And I'm Ken, also.
We're all Ken.
We're all Ken this week.
Just joking. Our names are under us. You can read, presumably. Whoever we are, we like talking about Star Trek.
We do indeed. And what track are we talking about this week? We've got a lot of it.
There was so much because of all. There was some serious shenanigans. Last weekend at San Diego Comic-Con 2023, and so we have a bunch of announcements. We've got trailers, we've got preview scenes, we've got announcements of upcoming content. Before we get into a double episode review for 2 episodes of Star Trek that came out in the past week, Those Old Scientists and Under the Fog of War. That was the name of today's episode, right?
Was it the Fog of War? I don't know. Oh, Under the Cloak of War, I think.
Under the clouds.
Something like that, yeah.
Something or other.
And because there's so much, if you're after a review of actual this week's episode, time codes, as we always say, below.
Yeah, because I don't know if we mentioned before we started recording, but I don't think we've got time to do non-spoilers.
Yeah, it's going to be, especially for the first episode of Strange New Worlds that we're talking about. Everyone's already seen it, Yep. if you haven't, then you desperately need to go out to see it.
Yeah.
But
before we get into any of that, how you doing, Mike?
I'm good. It's been a nice, chillaxed week for me again. So no emptying offices. I'm trying to get myself fit and healthy again this week. That's my main aim. But that's me this week. A nice simple one. I bought myself a load of travel sweets to eat during this long presentation of a double episode and Comic-Con. But if you hear me chewing, tell me to shut the fuck up.
Yeah, man. I wouldn't, because that would be rude.
Yeah. But how you doing anyway?
If you do start making a lot of chewing noises, I might just make chewing noises myself, just so then it's not just you, it's both of us that are the problem.
Yeah. You want to fit in as well,
Yeah.
How you doing anyway, mate? There's
Great,
something
man.
different about you, and I can't tell what it is.
Is there? I went to see Barbie.
Did you? And enjoy it?
Mate, it was fucking awesome. Oh, man, it was so good. It's so, it's so feminist and leftist and, existential and funny. So funny.
Yeah.
My partner was laughing really loud. Similar to, you with the chewing, I found myself having to laugh loud just so that, it wasn't just them. We were both the problem.
Okay.
But I didn't have to force myself too hard. It was very funny. I can definitely see why fucking Ben Shapiro and his dry pussied wife would hate that film. Because honestly, oh my god, yeah, totally. But seriously, that film is so it's woke as hell.
Yeah.
And it's also it does not attack men either. People who are there's a lot of guys in the manosphere who are feeling attacked by that film, and they shouldn't.
Yeah. It's more telling that they feel attacked, than any sort of content in there. If you see enemies everywhere that you see, it's probably a you problem than the rest of the world problem.
Absolutely. Totally. If you're feeling attacked by the Barbie movie, you are the problem.
Mm. Yep. I thought it was pretty good as well. I major fan of any Ken and Barbie stuff. The real world Mattel board members, I was I'm sick of fucking guys. that was the only negative bit.
Did you not pink up?
No. I wore the closest that I have to pink shirt, which was like a highlighter red to orange sort of colour. That's all I have. I'm not buying a shirt for it.
It's not exactly. I mean, I didn't buy a shirt. This is my partner's. This is my partner's Pussy Riot T-shirt.
Yeah.
Which I might steal.
For the people who are audio only, you've dyed your hair. Did we say you dyed your hair?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I don't know if we said it out loud. Yeah, I have dyed my hair. I have also shaved my beard. And because my beard, like, naturally grows in different colours, the moustache portion of my beard is mostly blonde. So right now, I look like, kind of like the gay secret agent from Archer. What was his name? We need to look it up.
I was gonna say Cyril. Cyril's the other one.
No, he's the twerp. Ray Gillette.
Ray Gillette.
I look like Ray Gillette.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting that, like, I put gay secret agent Archer, and one of the first results is just a Wikipedia on the honeypot.
Yeah, the episode where he has to pretend to be gay. I think that is. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I thought it was just like... Oh, yeah, no, it is an Archer wiki. I thought it was just like a wiki on
the... 1 or 2, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I thought it was just a wiki on the honeypot tactic.
Yeah. It's an early one. It's an early Archer. I haven't watched this season at all. I need to get to it, I suppose.
Yeah. But yeah,
but anyway, should we start talking about some Star Trek?
Yeah, man, let's get into it. So, like we were saying last week, there is ongoing writer and actor strikes, coinciding beautifully with Comic-Con, and so a lot of the events that were going on throughout the weekend were very much last minute scramble to get stuff done. You know, Star Trek had events presented by, like, the head of brand development, someone from IDW. I don't even know who they ended up getting, but they just listed an IDW representative. I think there was Jill from accounts. I think they got a security guard from the car park.
Guy with a mop bucket was just on stage for some reason.
Yeah. They had a caricaturist, which, you know, fair enough. Have a caricaturist, support the arts, all that. But to advertise that there was a caricaturist, a single caricaturist, one person doing caricature art of people in the captain's chair. And apparently they gave out a lot of pins.
They did.
But some of the content that was showcased, some of the upcoming content does look pretty good. For instance, to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Star Trek, the animated series, Casper Kelly is producing 5 brand new animated shorts starring none other than Jonathan Frakes, Armin Shimmerman, and Doug Jones as Riker, Quark, and Saru, respectively, all in the original animation style from the 70s. Pretty cool, innit?
Yeah, there's also Neelix. He wasn't on the initial release, but there's a Neelix one as well. So pictures up at the moment.
Ethan?
But yeah. Ethan Phillips. Yep. I remember the name. Woohoo! I'm just hoping they pull in. Do you remember I believe the YouTube channel is Gazelle Productions. And they did animated versions of Voyager and TNG in that style. And it would be, you know, after he's put a bit of effort in and kind of got the animated series bandwagon rolling, it would be a shame not to bring him in and do it with him. Totally.
Yeah. Especially after Across the Spider-Verse ended up roping in some 14-year-old who did Lego.
Yeah.
Which was pretty cool. You know, that would be a very cool thing to do. A great way for someone to have their art appreciated. Casper Kelly, of course, being the guy that we mentioned last week, who directed The Trouble with Edward, the Star Trek, the short trek.
Yep.
And
speaking of Archer, there you go.
That's
John
H. John Benjamin.
Oh,
Yeah,
H. John Benjamin. Wrong way round.
John.
Damn it.
Yeah, man. So yeah, and also directed the YouTube classic Too Many Cooks.
Too many cooks.
That's cooks with two O's, as in too many cooks in the kitchen, not too many cooks watching. So yeah, it looks great.
Yeah.
I love vaguely creepy looking old animation. You know, I love stuff like that. Archer, again, this is the third time we've dropped Archer. Might watch some later, similar animation style.
Yeah. It's very, obviously 70s or whatever had no budget for animation. So characters just like stand in one position and go like, oh no, Spock.
Yep. No transitional scenes. It'll just be like, there'll be a bunch of people stood around, something will happen, and then it will immediately cut to them mid-run.
Yeah.
Yeah. Filmation, I believe it was, that did it. The classic animation studio. They did like Scooby-Doo and...
Yeah, that's where
all
they
the
practice
stuff.
those runs. The running across. It's all the same. But yeah, it should be good. Looking forward to it. The animated series is probably the series that I've seen the very least, for obvious reasons. But yeah, looking forward to this.
Yeah, well, we got some animated series references in the first of our two Strange New Worlds episode reviews, so that'll come back up again. So let's not dwell on it. Let's keep the fucking ball rolling because we've got so much to get through. God damn it.
Yeah.
Lower Decks Season 4.
Yeah.
The Voyage Home. We got a trailer for the next series of Lower Decks, and it looks fun.
It looks fun. Lower Decks, it's certainly up there, my favourite or second favourite of the new shows. It's great. And this just looks like, they haven't put a foot wrong yet, and it doesn't look like they will this time. So fantastic.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's consistent. It's consistent, It aims low. It aims low, and so because of that, it's consistent, I think.
Yeah.
I
think that's a bit harsh saying it aims low. In fact, we mentioned the strikes, and we're talking up all this stuff. I want to say, because I was just bigging up Lower Decks a bit heavily then. We're not being paid. We're not being paid for this by Paramount,
we should say.
For obvious reasons.
Yeah. Neither of us are members of the Screen Actors Guild or the Writers Guild of America.
And we wouldn't take money to promote them, even if they wanted us to.
No, we're just talking about Trek. We're not promoting Trek. If anything, we're hurting. We're making it worse.
Yeah.
We are actively causing problems.
Yeah.
But yeah, so in the new trailer we get some Romulan, Bynars, Orions, and Klingons all being attacked by a giant face-looking starship. Kind of looks like a backward Slave One. We get some more of Talin, the Vulcan crew member, who we got teased twice in the last two seasons of Lower Decks. We get some Nagus, Rom, and Lita.
Yeah.
We get the a return of the macrocosm virus from Voyager. Awesome.
And it looks like that episode is set on Voyager as well.
Yep. I bet we get Boimler in a Janeway Ripley outfit. Get him in a vest, all greased up with biceps.
I can see that.
We get Ransom and Shax in Olivia Newton-John outfits, doing yoga stretches.
Yeah,
nice. We get Ringworld.
Do we get Ringworld? I might have missed that one. Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
Ringworld. Yeah, we get some shots of a ship flying into to an Elysium type
Dyson
deal.
Ring. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And we get a return of something that I hate with a fiery passion. The fucking weirdo games from that Alan Moraine.
Alan Moraine. Count to four. Alan Moraine. One step more.
Yeah, we get that.
It's great.
So yeah, plenty of references, plenty of allusions to rude jokes. I can't wait.
And there's also it hints towards some of our lower deckers getting promoted. And
Yes.
if you want to know who gets promoted, they've already spoiled it with I think a colouring book or a sticker book or something like that. So if you want to know who gets promoted in the next season, it's already spoiled. Extra pips on people's colours. What fun.
I noticed that Talin is a lieutenant.
Is she? Okay, cool.
That's probably why she stood over them with a clipboard, a pad, not a clipboard, a clipboard.
A clipboard. Paper over.
Who is it?
Let's see if I can remember. I think Rutherford, and I think it might be Boimler. I can't remember. I got this.
Like there is.
I got this spoiled for me weeks ago.
Being Tendi, they hint at Tendi in the trailer.
Yeah, it got spoiled for me weeks ago, so I've already half forgotten really. But yeah, if you desperately want to see, then it's on the news sites. It's on Trek Movie or Trek Core or something like that to find out.
We also we go to Orion, which is cool. We've never actually been to Orion, which is cool.
I think we did in last season or the season before, Lower Decks.
I think we went to Orion. I think we went to some fucking just a random shithole planet. I think we went to maybe we did go to Orion.
I can't remember.
Maybe.
Brain gone.
But yeah, there's some sexy Orion men with mustaches. Yeah, looks like it's going to be a fun, jam-packed series. And, of course, in true Lower Decks tradition, this being the fourth series, the poster for this series is modelled on the poster for the fourth Star Trek movie, Star Trek The Voyage Home. And it looks great.
It's good they didn't style them off the Kelvin Universe ones because they would have been waiting a long time for the version of the fourth movie
absolutely.
poster.
The poster for this season would just be like, coming soon.
Yeah.
Question
mark. Yeah.
So yeah, looks great. I'm excited. It's probably my least favorite movie poster of all of them. It's too busy.
Yeah.
It's too busy,
Yeah. Well, it's got the San Fran Bridge and it crashed.
The Golden Gate Bridge,
it?
yes, the Suicide Bridge.
Yeah, and I don't think the storm and stuff like that is the interesting part of that movie. It's the being down on ground level and in the past, really. But yeah, whatever.
I always forget that the reason why they're going back in time. I always know they're going to get whales, but I always forget about basically the opening scene of the film with the probe and the storms raging all over Earth. It's just so superfluous. To the shenanigans.
Yeah.
Yeah, moving on.
Let's keep rolling.
Anything else you want to say about Lower Decks?
Nah, looking forward to it. I don't think it got a date, did it? Does it have a date?
It's September.
Is it? Okay. Oof.
Yep. Very soon.
It'll come around sooner than you think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
We were also treated to a like a 5-minute scene, like loads. 5-minute scene from the next series of Star Trek Discovery, featuring first appearances that we've all got to see of new characters Maul and La'ak, played by Eve Harlow, and Elias Tufexis.
Tufexis. Okay.
Tufexis?
Sure. Why not?
It looks French.
Looks Tufexis-y.
Tufexi, maybe. I don't know. I hope. I'm probably butchering his name. I'm definitely butchering his name. Elias Tufexis, playing La'ak, and Eve Harlow playing Maul. Having a cheeky little Mexican standoff.
Yeah.
With Michael Burnham. Closely followed by like a pretty fucking intense like starship warp surf scene.
Yeah.
That's great.
I'm waiting for the particular type of nerd to be angry with that, despite us already seeing people, in a warp bubble outside of a ship already.
She should be spaghettified.
Yeah.
She should be spaghettified. Nah, man. But what was it? Programmable matter? She's got a programmable matter suit. She's got magic. It's fine.
Even without that, there was an episode of Enterprise where Trip had to move between ships at warp.
And he loved it.
Yeah. I loved it. Great episode.
It's a great scene. It's a great scene. I love the bit where he like stops halfway and he's just like, "This is amazing. This is yeah." It's great because like you see, Michael Burnham doing that thing that she occasionally does when she's just started doing something insane. And she like realizes that she's doing something insane and just starts like howling.
Yeah.
Just starts like woohooing. Because she's like, this is fucking nuts. I'm great.
I think it felt like a different tone with that sort of thing, and some of the dialogue she has. I haven't watched it again since whenever this came out, Saturday, Sunday. So it's already forgotten in my brain. But yeah, it seemed like a different tone for Discovery than the last couple of seasons. And, occasionally they trick us like that every year. For the last 4 years, they've been like, it's a different tone. But we'll see.
It makes sense, man. Like, Star Trek Discovery is set in a vaguely sort of post-apocalyptic time. It's perfectly appropriate for them to be a little bit cowboyish, But yeah, so
but not just the cowboy nature. They're having fun as well, and the dialogue is less stilted, sad, emotional. Just in the 5 minutes that we saw, and 5 minutes, of one episode doesn't mean that the whole series is going to be like that. But it would be a nice change for Discovery.
Yeah. So as the scene goes on, we get a vocal cameo of Callum Keith Rennie as Captain Rayner, who's the sort of half Vulcan-y looking type person.
Yep.
That we see.
He's our antagonist from the season, because every season of Discovery has had like a captain or an admiral or the president of the Federation who is like anti-Burnham until they just get won around or something like that. And I think he's our version of that this year.
Well, is he going to be anti-Burnham until Burnham wins them over, or are they going to work together until he has a heel turn and goes bad? It's got to be one of the two.
Possibly, yeah. It would be nice for a change.
Or maybe he's misguided. Maybe.
Possibly. Who knows?
Maybe.
Who knows? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of
Anything
fun.
for a change. Yeah. Looking forward to it. Yeah. Last season.
Really good, like, the special effects in that scene look fantastic as well.
Well, they've had double the amount of time to do it, than every other series that's get put out at the moment.
Yeah.
Every other series gets a year to do stuff, and Discovery's had two.
Yeah, they've got plenty of time. Of time. And also, this is the fourth time we've seen someone getting sucked off into space in
Not
recent
just,
months.
I'm going to make that pause longer. The sucked off into space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they've nailed it.
All space jumps. They know how to do them now. Set in the volume.
Yeah. So yeah, looking forward to that when it comes out one day.
Yeah, next year at some point, I guess.
Yeah, probably gonna get delayed again. What with all the everything.
Yeah, they'll need to space out their content because there won't be any Strange New Worlds next year, probably.
No, probably not. Oh well, pay them.
Yeah.
Stop trying to steal everyone's faces. And like AI can't write for shit.
No. You just need to watch Secret Invasion to see how AI writes.
Yeah.
There's no way a human went through that and thought it would be good.
Nope. Yeah, overall, the Comic-Con, like, they showed us some good stuff, but the last big thing that they showed at Comic-Con, in Hall H, on a big screen, they showed what was going to be, a special early screening of the Strange New Worlds Lower Decks crossover episode, Those Old Scientists.
And we were good and bitter about it last week, weren't we? That they were going to get it early, and then they just decided to release it early everywhere. We got it, and then we hadn't planned enough time between us to talk about it.
No, we didn't have time. We didn't have time to record an extra episode. That's why today you're getting a twofer.
Yeah, getting a long one.
Why? Why though? I have a hypothesis as to why. So obviously, without any of the stars, without any of the writers or anything, there was no one there. There was no creatives. There was no performers. So they were just scrambling to find stuff to fill slots. I reckon the reason why they then released the episode is because what happens normally with these early screenings of like scenes and stuff, right?
Someone spoils the shit out of it.
Unless people sign an NDA before they go in, which has been known to happen at Comic-Con. They get an early preview scene, a Marvel movie or a DC movie. People sign an NDA. They go out. They don't, or they get their phones put in lockers or whatever. And people talk about the stuff that they see, but like you only ever get like grainy photos off to one side kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't think they did that. I reckon this was all put together so quickly, so last minute that no one thought, "Oh fuck, we need to sort out NDAs so that people don't just fucking spoil everything that they see."
Yeah, I think you can NDA on the door for Hall H though. Hall H.
I don't think they did.
But
that's what I'm saying. No, I don't think they did.
I just think they didn't want everyone's first experience of it to be, oh, this is the worst. This is offered a stupid fucking angle, grainy. There are people moving and whooping and shit like that, and you can't hear what's happening. It ruins. I suppose there's still an atmosphere of being in Hall H.
It's not nothing.
Yeah. I preferred watching it at home in the middle of the night, getting up to watch it. Yeah. But yeah, it was nice to see it done because I would have been very disappointed if I got most of this spoiled for me, or the jokes and the references and stuff like that. I don't think there's much in the story that can be spoiled. It's not like there's an end cameo of William Shatner or something like that. No. To spoil.
And to be honest, the story isn't much. That can be like the non-spoilers bit. Like the story isn't much, but it is it's a lot of fun, and the fun would have been ruined if any of the gags would have leaked.
The story just seems there to be like, right, we need our characters to tour around the Enterprise. So Boimler has to meet these people, and then these people, and then these people, and then Mariner needs to meet these people and these people. And it's just, story's not much. Considering the episode, by the way, was and is now the second highest rated episode of Trek ever, but it was the first highest rated episode of Star Trek ever. I don't think it deserved that, and it's only beaten by one episode now. Can you guess the top episode rated?
The new episode?
No, that's in second place now. What's above it?
In the pale moonlight.
No, but would appear on the same sort of lists as people's favorite episodes.
City on the Edge of Forever.
No, you're not even haven't hit the right series yet. Do you want it told?
What is it?
It's The Inner Light. Picard dreams that he's an old man and gets a flute.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not a bad episode. It's not a bad episode. It's a good episode. I wouldn't say. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I always think that like the higher rated episodes of Star Trek should be a bit more starshipy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not starshipy at all, is it? It's bookended by we're on the Enterprise. Oh, Picard falls over, and Picard wakes up. He's on the Enterprise again. Yeah, it's not even ensemble or anything like that. It feels very much like a cheap episode week, doesn't it?
Yeah, all guest stars, all extras. Yeah. Okay.
Filmed on 2 sets. Yeah, but I don't think this episode warrants being the second best, highest rated episode ever. Thing. Fun though I had. It's the best episode that I've seen for a long time, but it's not that good really.
No, it was a lot of fun. It was more like a special episode. You know?
Yeah.
It's the kind of thing that like that you wouldn't be surprised for them to release out of season.
Yeah.
You know?
Like if the story was a lot stronger, this could have made a movie.
Yeah.
I think people would have turned up at the cinema for this if it had a story.
If it
had a story, but it doesn't have a story. Yeah.
No, it had gags.
It had gags.
Should we get into the gags? You know.
Well, do you want me to do the very quick run through?
Just before you do the run through, I guess Comic-Con was a fucking shambles, but by all accounts, with the lack of movie stuff going on, it was probably the most comic booky Comic-Con that there's been in a while. And also, a cosplayer from the UK won the best humorous cosplay award at the Comic-Con. She was dressed like Badgie.
Ah, cool. I'll try and put an image of that in if I find it this evening.
Good job.
Cool. And what's good as well is considering they pulled out Star Trek animation to be like fill the gap. I'm pretty sure we've done a story in the past of at least the Lower Decks animation crew being unionized. So it's not like they're punishing or like pulling people out who aren't in the union and being like, no, you'll do this for us. You need to fill the gap because you're not union. These guys are union as well. They're just in a different union. So yeah. Description of the episode. The lower deckers of the Cerritos are examining a time portal which accidentally activates. Boimler gets sucked into the past of Strange New Worlds. The Enterprise crew knows that Boimler is from the future and starts working to get him back to the future, while Boimler avoids impacting the past. When an Orion ship arrives, Boimler convinces Pike that they are scientists rather than pirates because he knows Tendy's grandmother is on board, and that's what Tendy told him. The Orions steal the time portal, so Boimler helps the Enterprise track it down and trade supplies to get it back. Boimler is about to head back through the time portal when Mariner arrives, trying to save him, using up the last of its power supply. They're looking for some more of the power supply material when Mariner realizes that an old part of the NX would power the time portal, and it just so happens there's part of that ship on board the current Enterprise. They use that, and they trade the supplies back with the Orions on the proviso that the Orions get to say they discovered it. Boimler and Mara go back into their time, and Strange New Worlds crew have a birthday party for Pike. Trying to do that quickly.
Yeah. That all happened.
That all happened, and I was trying to cut that down because it's barely story, but I still had to hit it all because I couldn't cut out the Tendy stuff and the grandmother stuff. It's,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a great example of and then being done right, this episode. This happens, and then this happens, and then.
Yeah.
Rather than this happens, and so this happens, or this happens because this thing happened. Most of the episode is just, and then this happens. And then this happens.
And then
But,
this.
like, it was this, this episode, I don't think it was trying to be highbrow in any way. This was novel, it was grade A novelty.
Yeah. And I do think maybe you think the same, that the tone was balanced pretty well between the Strange New Worlds normal to comedy tone and the Lower Decks tone, which is obviously more comedy and animated and whatever. I thought it was a good midpoint between it for the episode.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't think you could fit a story in it. Like one of my complaints later in the episode, I'm just like, I'll say it now, fuck it. That Rutherford and Tendi should be in there as well in live action. But at the same time, if you travel them to the past, you're very tight on story. Like you're very tight on time. You can't have them all meet someone individually.
I know, but like we didn't see them through the portal. Like we could have at least like looked through the portal and they could have been there.
Yeah.
Or
I've said already to other people, but you talk about Tendy's grandmother being there. Why wouldn't you play her by Noah Wells at least and have her play her grandmother? Because then it doesn't matter if she looks identical to the animated Tendy.
Because that's how you do that. That's how you do that in film and TV. You have the ancestors played by the same person.
Fuck knows we do in Star Trek. Otherwise, we wouldn't have, Brent Spiner lining up for every role in Star Trek.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There were some great gags. Mm-hmm. There was some great gags. Like what were some of your favorite little gags?
I liked the weirded out Spock smile. I thought that was quite funny. Where you just hear the heartbeat and like the white noise when he's looking at Spock, and it's just like the camera's focused on the mouth and only the mouth. Being confused
like
by
Boimler's
it.
world is just shattering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked
Riker.
Sorry. The Riker. Which is apparently
when
improved.
Hops. Yeah, well, there was a lot of improv. There was a lot of improv on Jack Quaid and Tawny Newsom's part. Jack Quaid and Tawny Newsom, Boimler, and what's her fucking name? Mariner, respectively. I have said that like 4 times today, respectively.
Respect.
I've had to list off a lot of people very quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was apparently a lot of, there's a lot of improv on their part. They obviously come from an improv backgrounds, which is weird considering Jack Quaid is Dennis Quaid's son and Randy Quaid's nephew.
Yeah.
That like he got into improv comedy.
Yeah. When he's such a tall guy as well. He should be an action star.
So tall.
If he had more meat on his bones, I think he'd be an action star.
Yeah, he's so tall.
Yeah. Speaking about the Tawny Newsom and improving, did you hear as well? It was announced that she's writing on Star Trek Academy, the show that probably won't come out.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that probably won't come out.
Yeah, but it's cool that she's writing on it.
He's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
or
she does a
she
great
would
podcast.
be writing if she wasn't on strike.
Does she still do? I haven't listened to it, but she used to do a great podcast called "Yo, Is This Racist?" That was a good podcast. I don't know if she still does it. I hope so, because racism is still around, and people need people to point at it and go, "Yo, is this racist?"
Yeah. The Dom Jot. If we're doing things that we found funny still, what's Dom Jot? Oh, it's a game that Norskins like playing that, and betting on, but they're terrible at. Which
they are always losing it and getting into brawls because of it.
Yeah.
I'd love that, like, when they translate the time portals Norsican, it literally just translates to, this is a time portal.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. A lot of the comedy, I feel like, it's consistent. Like you say, it's consistent with Strange New... Like, the Strange New Worlds people are doing Strange New Worlds, like, reactions. Yeah. But a lot of the comedy is very Lower Decks level comedy. Yeah. And I think it definitely helps that, like, because you've obviously got the same actors that play those characters on Lower Decks, they feel so consistent. There isn't a second where I was that taken out of the episode by Jack Quaid or by, but I should just say Boimler and Mariner. Like, they felt very consistent in their characters. Yeah. And, letting them improv probably helped a lot with that. Letting Mariner just have like a little aside going, are we going to talk about how weirdly hot Spock is? Like, what's going on there? Why does he look absolutely fucking poured into his uniform? Like, having Mariner, like, having Boimler go onto a shuttle and Mariner being sat there with her feet up on the console, just chilling, waiting for him.
Yeah. Very, like, the when you're saying the feet up, the physical acting was very on point for the animation as well. And obviously you can't do animation where you've got no bones. But Boimler standing there like this, like he does in the Lower Decks, and as you say, with Mariner and her feet up and stuff like that, we see Boimler do a kind of animated run down the corridor where he's like... so I thought, it's all in line with who those characters are, which is very easily lost. And I think one of the writers on this was a Lower Decks person. So, yeah, good.
And of course, the writers were Lower Decks people. The Lower Decks people were doing improv. The director of this episode, was fucking Jonathan Frakes. I tell you what, there are some great, really well framed shots in this episode. There's a lot of great symmetry. There's a lot of great, like, interesting uses of camera angles. Classic, like, just, that's Jonathan Frakes' directorial style, which is just like on the day going, hey, you know what would look great?
Yeah.
Because if we shot it from down here looking up and we show the explosion over there like that, can we do that? Yeah. Let's do it. Let's frame it like that. He
compared to as well, we aren't on to the next episode, obviously, but this I rewatched them both today, back to back. And this next episode that we'll talk about after this, directing-wise, it's just not there. Like, the cinematography of it is nothing, really. And it's... they've obviously poured money into this episode because it's the big episode this season that we've all been looking forward to. But it's a shame we can't have Frakes consistently. And this makes him because there was Lower Decks animated part stuff on there as well. And I don't know if he actually directed it, but if you count Lower Decks, that means he's done TNG, Voyager, DS9, Lower Decks, Strange New Worlds, Discovery. So he's done everything except for Prodigy since he came on board, really.
Yeah, mate. He's Gold Star Star Trek director.
Yeah. He's well worth the money as well. Why they can't get him all the time. Oh, and Picard, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah. What about the actual story? What about the story? Like, not just. I don't mean the Boimler coming into the past. Like that's just the farce that we get. But we do touch on some stuff with Spock, and we touch on some stuff with Pike. Pike was great in this episode as well. Having Boimler and Mariner being brought to Pike's quarters where he's like cooking food. It's like they're being brought to the principal's office.
Yeah.
And he's like, we need to have a let's have a talk. He's like, if they were kids, he'd be getting down on one knee to meet their eye level to have a conversation with them, kind of thing.
Yeah. And he's actually puts them after that. He says he's going to restrict them to quarters, which he didn't do the week before when Uhura was going mad and potentially going to blow up the ship. But these guys, he's like, no, you're restricted to quarters.
Yeah, because they're children, and he's sending them to their room. Uhura's an adult.
Yeah, he says something like, it's like stopping a toddler knocking over all the furniture, which
it is. Yeah. So we've got Pike. Pike's having a bit of an existential crisis because he's in, and this is this happened in Star Trek Beyond as well, where Pike it's going to be his birthday, and he is a year older than his dad was before his dad died. That's from Star Trek Beyond.
Yeah, it's a heavy trope that gets used everywhere, isn't it? Really, but yeah, was from Beyond, and pouring a drink out or drinking whiskey or whatever during that conversation, same.
Exactly the same.
Yeah.
We also get Spock having. He's doing experiments with emotion, or what was it? He's experimenting with doing emotions.
Yeah. So he's, and it's played very well, I think, where there's this scene in the turbo lift with Chapel and Boimler, where Boimler's saying, I think I broke Spock, my presence here. My one joke I told in front of him broke him. And because he's got so future knowledge. Yeah.
Because I'm so funny.
And he's obviously got future knowledge of what Spock is to everyone in the future. And, Chapel is the instigator of that relationship and that change in Spock, and knows that, if she's not remembered for being with Spock, then it's not going to work out, is it? Really?
Yeah.
So it's quite a sad, poignant scene, really.
Yeah. Boimler for all of his, trying not to affect the timeline, he does let the fact that Spock has an important future slip once or twice. But what I think's cool in that is that, like, no one at all seems surprised by that. Everyone's like, everyone's just kind of like, yeah, we kind of figured that. Like, have you met him? Have you seen him?
Yeah.
He's Gregory Peck's grandson.
Of course he's important to this universe. Yeah.
But everyone's just like, we've worked with Spock. We all know he's destined for great things. And
Pike certainly does, because he had that trip into the future end of last season, and it was like, if Spock dies, then a lot of shit's going to happen in the universe.
Yeah, and he also, he lets Mariner and Boimler know that Pike is fully aware of his own personal future.
I thought there was a well done scene with him and Una the one where he says he's like guarding toddlers knocking over furniture, and he says, them being so happy to see me makes my future feel not so grim, considering he knows he's destined to be in a beepy chair. And none of them are like, ooh, hi Pike, beepy chairman. They're all, enthusiastic to see him. And they have that, because there was a meme going around before this episode came out that was something like, we're going to tell you all about the beepy chair. It's like, I know all about the beepy chair.
I know
and they pretty much did straight up that meme. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Speaking of Una, we get a few gags where people are averting her gaze. But it's, she thinks that it's for a bad reason. We find out it's because she's the recruitment mascot. She's like Rosie the Riveter in space,
Yeah. Which makes her, somewhat immune to bulletproof for the next while.
Yeah. Yeah, ad astra per aspera. And she's like, she kind of tears up when they say that to her. She's like, they put that on the poster? Yeah, it's nice. We also get some great interactions with Mariner and Uhura. And some quite poignant, I think a good sort of metaphor for the actor who plays Uhura, talking about this idea of filling, not wanting to fail at filling the shoes that is Uhura, and obviously she is the third actress now to play Uhura, but she's obviously talking about Nichelle Nichols and there's big boots to fill.
Yeah.
What if she's not good enough? But Mariner sort of tells her, you've just got to kind of do it your own way, and all will be well.
I think that works kind of out of universe. I don't think it works as good in universe. So the same with Mariner is buzzing off seeing her, and out of universe that can be because Tawny Newsome, grew up with Uhura and black woman in a position of authority in a science fiction show rather than just being, the whatever. And that works out of universe, why there's such reverence for her. But in universe where she's saying, oh, and Uhura knows how to have fun and stuff like that, I'm like...
Does she though?
Okay. She sang once or twice.
She knows how to have trauma.
Yeah.
She knows how to have trauma and language.
Yeah. She forgot all her memories once, Uhura's not going to remember any of this because she forgets all her fucking memories.
Totally.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it works much better out of universe for those sorts of reasons. The Celia Rose Gooding stepping into, the Uhura shoes, and knowing that she has this character to fulfill, and Tawny Newsome liking Uhura for whatever reason. I don't think it works in universe.
I didn't mind.
Yeah.
What else? What else did we get? There was a lot.
There was a whole lot. Let's somewhat sandwich it rather than leave me saying the things I didn't like on the episode until the very end. La'an, are you saying Boimler arrives and there's a Khan in front of him and he doesn't mention anything about Khan? He's on the Enterprise and there's a Khan in front of him and doesn't mention anything? Okay, fine, I get it. I would completely cut the conversation with Pelia and have something Khan-based. We have an animated version of the Enterprise crew at the end when they're drinking Orion drinks. Pike's hair is far too small in that.
No, it's ridiculous, isn't it? It's ridiculous. I know. We both know. We're just like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Did he have a haircut as well?
Small.
Fuck that.
And it's stupid because there's a comic book version of Pike's hair that is like Pike's massive floppy hair. And it's like, just do that. Why wouldn't you do that? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I liked how everyone's getting off their tits, and the reason why they're 2-dimensional is because they're kind of tripping. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I was trying to think of all like the TV shows in the past that have done like we've moved into 2D or 2D moving into 3D. And beyond like The Simpsons, Homer went 3D for an episode. Farscape, they went 2D for an episode. Community, yeah, would have. They know
They
how
also
to play
did Puppets. I wonder if we'll get a Puppets episode of Strange New World.
I did make a note in my episodes I want to see of Puppets after this. Just on the same track of, what other comedy episodes can they do? Whatever. Oh, Puppets, that would work. How do you explain them being felt in universe? Doesn't matter. Yeah, but it's an interesting thing, I think, where they just went, oh no, you seem realistic.
Yeah, I like that.
And then at the end, that drinking, as we were saying, where it's like, do my arms normally move like this?
My eyes are so big.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good, I thought. Very good. That bit.
I liked, just one gag I liked is when they're looking at his comm badge and they're like, yeah, his badge, it's also a communicator. And Pike's like, what? But flicking it open's the best part.
Yeah.
This is like, totally. That's why they've brought back the communicator for, like, Picard. Like, Raffi uses a communicator.
Yeah.
And, I listened to a clip of the Raffi and Seven audiobook, which has the actors doing the voices.
Okay.
And you can hear her using it.
Flipping.
They use
okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So someone pointed out, and it might have been the What Culture guy, Scott, said Pike's already seen a comm badge that's like this because Discovery Section 31 had them, and he saw them.
Yeah.
I think it's fair enough. Una hadn't seen one. Una's the one that's showing him. He's not saying, "Oh, I've never seen one of them before." It's
He's
fine.
just saying, like, fucking shit, as if they take off.
Yeah.
As if who'd have thought that would take off? Yeah, no.
The animated intro, absolutely fantastic.
Go check out go check out the comparison video that Mike did. I also put that up on TikTok as well. In fact, because I lost my the phone that I do for podcast stuff. I keep forgetting I need to because I need to jump between. Shut up! Do you believe UFOs? Oh my god!
I want to believe.
So when you open TikTok, it just starts playing, and obviously the past few days I've just been watching stuff from the fucking congressional hearing on UAP disclosure, and it is just whatever,
Boring balls.
Yeah, it's not interesting, but I mean it is interesting, but it's also kind of nothing.
Well, they're not going to say they found a fucking alien.
Well, that's the thing, because it's not government officials. It's a guy who used to work three guys who used to work for the government, all coming forward saying, this has happened, this has happened, this has happened. I have information that I can't talk about in this setting, but we all need to organize a private setting so I can give you this information. He's pointing at papers that he's got where he's just people are asking questions and he's like, I can't discuss it here, but it is literally on this piece of paper.
Yeah.
So it is just...
So he's a Bob Lazar wannabe,
No, this guy has he, like Bob Lazar, has a physics degree, but unlike Bob Lazar, worked in the intelligence community, and the other two were career pilots for the Navy and the Air Force.
Okay.
One of the guys is the
enough.
Tic Tac guy.
The Tic Tac?
Yeah, the pilot who filmed the Tic Tac.
Okay, yeah. Cool.
I keep having that conversation with people, and it keeps going the same way. He saw the Tic Tac.
He saw Tic Tacs.
Yeah, the Tic Tac.
He had mints.
Oh, the Tic Tac.
Orange and green ones.
Yeah, man, flying through the sky.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's as you say, there's a comparison of the normal and animated. The animated looks much better than the normal because you can see the ship, in my opinion.
Yeah, you can see the ship, and like I think the it being animated, it's well animated, and it's like that is really good animation because we don't use models anymore. I just think that the opening credits for Strange New Worlds in general is just kind of like that doesn't look real.
Yeah, and I'm no great lover of the opening credits of Strange New Worlds anyway, because I think, and I said in season 1, you could put the Voyager, take out the Enterprise and put the Voyager in. It works completely fine. It doesn't tell the story of what the show is. Whereas Star Trek Enterprise shows like the evolution. It tells a story. DS9, it being set, the whole thing being on the station and focused on the station, it tells you the show is focused on the station. Those have a story idea to the opening. Prodigy, warping and then going to extra warp and it going over the kids of Prodigy, tells you it's their journey and, it's about going fast. And Lower Decks as well has a story, the ship is falling into this singularity and manages to get out. They see the attack on the Borg cubes and they go, fuck this, we're out. They're a different type of crew. Whereas Strange New Worlds, it could be Voyager, it could be TOS, it could be... Yeah. At the same time, if I do up and down, I thought the uniform in live action, especially Boimler's, wasn't there. Like the divider line was far too much down.
Yeah, and also like it looked like it had that it looked like it bunched up. Like if you sat down, it would like bunch up. Yeah, it wasn't as neatly tailored.
No, and they do very small bits on it, like the bottom of his boots have the insignia, like we've seen in animation.
Little red detailing on the boots, nice.
Yeah, but it's just a shame. I think the cut of it was just off. So yeah, whatever. My biggest complaint of the episode, and I definitely had this straight away, was they set up the NX very early on when it's still animated, and they're like, oh, it's made by this material, and the NX ship had this. And then they say, oh, we're looking for this material and there's nowhere to get it. And I'm just like, they're going to the NX, because we already heard early in this season that, where they're like, oh my God, that's a Crossfield class. And it's like the Discovery Saucer on some weird nacelles. That was originally going to be an NX. And then they went, no, we'll change it. And I was like, maybe they changed it so this would have the reveal and it would be like, yes. But it's just not, and they should have. I understand that you don't want to build the set of inside the NX because that's a lot to build. It's a lot of bells and whistles and shit like that. But just have it animated, and have them tractor off a piece of the hull and just run with it. You could do that. It's such a fucking shame that they're just like, oh no, every ship has a piece of the last ship.
Cool. But I mean that's a fun scene, like when they're finding that and you see Uhura and Ortegas nerding out over the crew of the NX-01, talking about Mayweather and Sato.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh no, do we sound like those guys nerding out over us? It's like, yeah, you do, because Starfleet is full of nerds. They're all such nerds. One last thing I mentioned earlier in the when we were talking about TOS, we got a name drop, like Mariner's like, do we want to? Can I mention Spock's Salat?
Yeah.
His pet from when he went back in time and pretended to be his own cousin.
Yeah.
Further canonizing the events of the animated series.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool.
If Spock's Salat is real, then so is Satan.
Oh, yeah. And so's Bigger Spock. Although we've already seen
Bigger Spock, yeah, man.
His skeleton in Lower Decks, I suppose. So he's already canonized.
And Kukulkan.
Yeah. All fantastic. Kukulkan. Yeah. No. Did we have anything else on it? If you were saying you were coming to an end.
Yeah. No. I mean, just overall, I really enjoyed it.
Did you have any messages for the episode at all?
Sometimes they say don't ever meet your heroes, but sometimes meeting your heroes is fine. I couldn't decipher a message.
Okay, I had one on a similar track where people can be more than you think they would be, which is kind of like... So the two messages I got, I thought were felt fairly strongly because each story picks one of them. So the Orions being scientists, where Pike is like, are there Orion scientists? So they're more than they think. Whereas Boimler and Mariner have this whole thing where they're meeting crew, and it's like, oh no, Spock had emotion as well. He wasn't just an emotionless whatever. And Pelia has a scene where she's like, people aren't heroes. People just pretend to be heroes until they, get told they're heroic or whatever. It gets passed on that they were heroes.
Yeah.
So I had that as a message, and I had enjoy the downtime while you have it, which was Uhura and Mariner, and Pike having a birthday party.
I know that fucking feeling. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had those two as messages of the episode. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I don't think we need one of these every year, please. Star Trek people.
I mean, if we do another crossover, let's do a Prodigy crossover. If we're not gonna get any more Prodigy, please bring the Prodigy cast if you can afford it.
When's it set? So you could have. It's set too much in the future for Lower Decks.
But I mean, we could bring them in. Oh, maybe it's it's ahead of Lower Decks, isn't it? It's further in the future than Lower Decks.
It's like 10, 15 years ahead of Lower Decks, I think.
They could be in Legacy.
Is Legacy going to happen? Yeah.
Maybe not.
That, and then you have to make the animated characters who are non-human into live action, which is harder than making.
Maybe just Dal.
Yeah, why not? I could do that.
Yeah.
So should we say that's it for this episode 7, Those Old Scientists, which means we're on to episode 8, Under the Cloak of War, I think it was.
Yeah, man. Let me tell you something,
my notes have auto-corrected to Under the Cloak of Warp, which doesn't make sense at all. So I'm going to ignore that.
Maybe it knows you.
Yeah.
He never talks about war. He does talk about warp a lot.
He's always banging on about warp bubbles. Yeah.
I will say I thoroughly enjoyed this episode. I thought that this was a great episode. Deep, dark episode.
Yeah.
And if you liked 2 of my absolute favorite episodes of Star Trek ever, if you liked the TNG episode The Defector,
okay,
and the DS9 episode Duel, then you will love this episode. This is a good episode.
I think it's Duet rather than Duel. Is that episode name?
Duet. It is. It is. Duel. What's Duel?
Duel is a movie about a truck following a people. Someone.
It is.
I don't know if it's an episode.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's Spielberg's first movie.
Yeah, it's fantastic. If you haven't seen it, people listening or whatever, if you haven't seen it, have a listen or have a watch of it. Because it is
Yeah,
really
just listen
like...
to it. Don't watch it.
Don't listen to it.
Just listen to it. Just listen to a guy. Just...
Yeah, there's barely any words spoken, but just listen. Yeah. I also had as episodes that it's like TNG The Wounded. Do you remember the O'Brien remembers his time at the Cardassian War?
Yeah.
And the Siege of AR 553?
Yes. Yeah.
From DS9, I think it is. I had those as this is what it's reminding me of, as well as Duet.
Yeah, all great, like great episodes that deal very much with the aftermath of war, and coming to terms with with things that you have done and things that have been done to you. All
how
dealing
you've
with
been changed by war.
Yeah, being changed by the things that you do and that happen to you, and something that in many ways this episode maybe should have come a little bit sooner, considering we're close to the end of season 2. We did have a whole season of all these same characters who never alluded to any of this stuff.
Yeah. I mean, imagine if they'd had this as last year's Mbenga episode and strung his daughter on for another year so we actually got to know her.
Yeah.
That would have made a whole lot more sense or whatever. Where you feel a loss of his daughter rather than being like, thank fuck we don't have to hear that story again. And it would make more sense in the timeline of it all. Yeah. But I think as well as, it having the same sort of topic as those episodes that we mentioned, it's also like a tour de force of like acting wise. Babs, I can never remember his last name.
Out of the park.
Yeah,
knocked it out, man. Fuck
incredible
me.
in it. Yeah, and I thought the guy playing the Klingon as well, who I haven't looked up the name for, was quite good at transitioning between this affable guy to spoilers. I thought that was pretty good as well. So yeah, I really like this episode, and obviously it's such a tone shift from the last and the next, because we know what the next is.
Yeah, and we know what next week's episode is. Yeah, but also for the most part this season we've only really had like a couple of like really serious episodes, and like even then they weren't really serious so much as they were like, whoa, what's going on? We had Uhura dealing with her trauma. We had Pike losing his memory and breaking rocks, and we had Spock doing stuff.
Doing something.
But in the first episode, but like for the most part,
they all felt very much like TOS stakes, where maybe a crew member isn't, she's going to be locked up rather than released and able to be in Starfleet, but it's very confined stakes. Whereas this one, it is like there was a war, you get to see a war. There were impacts to that.
There's blood. There is so much gore in this episode. It's great.
Yeah.
There are throats slit. There are guts spilling out of people. Fucking air guitar on that shit.
Yeah. Like, real fantastic. I thought it was. Yeah. And it helps fill in as well, considering it's about, I don't think it's spoilers, but it's, somewhat about the Klingon war that Mbenga was part of and Chapel were part of, or some of the crew were. It fills in where Discovery went, and we're back to our own universe and the war has happened and is pretty much over. And you're just like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, we have travelled through dimensions and we have travelled forward in time.
Yeah. And you're
That's
just like...
convenient.
Okay. I mean, there were... Another reason why you shut down Axanar, the fan production, was because it was dealing with the Klingon War, and the guy was stealing a lot of money.
Good. So good.
Yeah,
Definitely check out
the guy's a
Axanar.
fucking wanker.
Yeah, he did. They did for one of the
He did
costumes.
defraud a load of people. Yeah.
He frauded a load of people. He also mutilated the actual screen costume that Chang wore in The Undiscovered Country.
He is. Yeah, he's ruined it for everyone as well, because he's planning to make a load of money out of that production, and that's what shut down a load of fan productions or made there be such restrictions on it. And it's like, congratulations, dickhead. You know, it wasn't enough defrauding people when you were making connections, selling on their Star Trek props, and then keeping some of them for yourself.
Yeah, fucking great. Now, if someone wants to make a fan production of their favorite franchise, they can only make a Star Wars fan production. And you can't do Star Trek in Star Wars either, because the closest thing to the Federation that we have is the Empire.
Yeah. Yeah, do you want me to do episode rundown then?
Let's do it.
So this week, the Enterprise crew are tasked with transporting a ex-Klingon general turned ambassador. Many of the crew aren't happy with this, as they were on the front lines of the Klingon War, in particular Mbenga and Chapel, who served on the same moon as this Klingon, Ambassador Ra. On the battlefront, Ra supposedly... Rasputin. Ra supposedly earned his name the Butcher of Jagal because he not only killed women and children, but his own men to cover his retreat. Throughout the episode, we skip between Mbenga and Chapel's flashbacks of Jagal and the present day, with them dealing with Ra as he tries to seem honestly reformed. Ra tells Mbenga that he killed his own men because of the atrocities they committed. Mbenga knows he's lying because things got so bad on the moon. Mbenga took some of his miracle drug and killed the generals on his way to kill Ra. There's a struggle.
Preparation H, what's it called?
It's 12, something 12.
Preparation 12.
Preparation 12. There's a struggle and Mbenga kills Ra, but Chapel covers for him, telling Pike that Ra started the fight.
Well, he would with a name like that. He just walked up to him and was like, Rah!
Rah! Yeah. Proper, like, amazing episode dealing with the horrors of, you know, war and how it affects people. Great. Yeah. Great. Yeah. Where do you want to start on this one?
Well, I mean, I suppose, why don't we start, like, just kind of doing the stuff during the war? Because, like, you know...
During the war? You know, okay, Uncle Albert. During the war?
The war. Like, you know, we have a lot of flashbacks in this episode. You know, and it is, like, real nitty-gritty, like, nasty, bad shit. And it's, you know, it doesn't feel like small scale. You know, obviously we've got, you know, all those scenes are filmed in the volume, so there's a lot of stuff happening in the background, but it does feel like an actual war zone. You know, there are just random cannons firing off in the distance all the time. There's constantly, you know, injured people being brought into triage. You know, it's you know, it feels like it is set in a war zone. It doesn't feel like the what was that episode you mentioned?
The Wounded, AR 553, Duet.
AR 553, right?
Yeah.
So like that episode, obviously, just because of the limitations of production, like it feels like it's a set. Everything.
Yeah.
It's
set in the cave they already had made. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like everything is occurring within, you know, 50 feet of where they're standing.
Yeah.
But, you know, there's a lot of scale. There's a big scale to this episode. And it is...
Certainly when you come in, or Chapel's coming in, and you see, you know, the moon just being like...
Oh, shit.
Fucking fired upon.
Fucking shit is going down, man. Fucking war is hell.
War is hell.
You know?
Yeah.
You know, if it's... You know, it's like the fucking... Iwo Jima.
Yeah. And we do a couple of those like movie tropey, medics where they're like, no, you pump his heart manually and, we'll save this man. And it's like,
we'll save this man.
We saved him and, he says he doesn't know why he's fighting. So the doctor has to tell him, you fight for, this and that. And then that guy decides to go back to war, and he's like, the doctor's going, no, don't actually go. I didn't want you to actually go on a suicide mission, damn it. And then he goes and dies on it.
Yeah,
that's pretty tropey, but it works for it.
You really feel that because like Mbenga saved that man, and then he gave him an inspiring speech, which then inspired that man to go back out and fight, and then he comes back dead. And it's just like, you really feel him sort of like, I saved that man, to send him out and die.
Yeah.
You really feel Mbenga sort of having to make choices and then dealing with the weight of them. Like, him and Chapel, they put a guy, he's got fucking, his guts are spilling out. It's fucking, it's gross. It's awesome. And he fucking, they put him into the transport buffer. He's like, we could load his pattern into the buffer. He
like
walks,
his daughter.
Like his fucking daughter. And then he's like, we'll save it for later. And then later on, they end up having to delete it. And Chapel's like, but we can't. And Mbenga just like very calmly just presses the button. Doesn't even say anything. He just looks at her and he's just like, boom.
And obviously at this point, Chapel would have lost people. But this is someone that she learnt the name and, said, we'll save him this way. And, that was her call hope on how to save him. And that was, as you say, her hope and the killing of her hope for that guy and probably a lot more than that guy.
But they needed to because, like, as soon as they deleted that dude, they beamed a bunch more people in, including a bunch of kids.
Yeah.
If they hadn't have deleted that dude, they couldn't have saved the kids. It's all about, the whole... Yeah. You feel the sense of, like, the reason they're dealing with the weight of their choices, but they are choices that they had to make.
Yeah. And
they had to make those calls.
I think you feel it as well. There's, like, although it starts off very intense, it shifts up from there to where... there's the incoming transport thing, and at the end, all you hear is incoming transport, incoming transport, incoming transport. And then just like, you can see him just like, fuck, sort of thing. Where at the start, there's none of that where we're setting the scene and we see a bit of Clint Howard doing another Star Trek role because you can't keep him away.
Now that took me out of the episode.
Yeah.
That took me out of the episode. Oh, it's this guy.
Yeah, it's Clint Howard. Mercifully, he's not in it much after that. He's just there for a day to be like, I'm Clint Howard, whatever. But yeah, I do feel like you feel the escalation, and it helps explain a bit more of this. Protocol 12, not Preparation 12. I've got it noted.
Preparation H. The ooze.
Preparation H.
Turns you into a Ninja Turtle.
Venom. Where Mbenga developed it. He's got the most hand-to-hand kills of any person.
Yeah, what the fuck? So, like, we get the ghost.
Yeah.
The ghost. We need the ghost. Like, what the hell?
I suppose, if he's the one, constantly taking Preparation H, then... Yeah, he probably does have more hand-to-hand kills because he's just, like, going in there silently killing millions of Klingons or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think it would be discontinued when your Starfleet is so much on the back foot in the Klingon War. Because, in times of war, there's that DS9 episode that's in Latin where it's in times of war, rules diminish or something like that is the translation.
Well, the Latin that I always remembered, it's from the Punisher. that I ended up quoting when I was watching the episode, when Benga's talking to the soldier. Pardon me. Civcus pacem parabellum. If you want peace, be prepared to make war.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And looking it up, the DS9 is inter arma enim silent legas, which in times of war the lawful silent, which is you do what shit you can to win a war, because winning the war is the important thing, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. And we get, after Mbenga sees the kid that he sent off to die, he gets emboldened and he takes shit into his own hands, and he takes the preparation H, and he fucks off, and he gives Chapel some as well. Yeah. He's like, if they break through the fence, you need to take this, and then that's the last we see of that. But also, when they took it in the first episode of this season, she was like, like again. She'd already taken it. So presumably...
Well, the thing is, I don't think we know if this is the end of the war or not. So Mbenga and Chapel could have been war buddies for the next year after this, for all we know. So he could be loading up with Preparation H, every other week from now. We just don't know. But I thought, considering how much I hated the ooze Venom earlier in the season, I thought this was done much, much better.
Also, because we don't get we don't really get a rock solid explanation as to what the story there is, really. It definitely feels as though it's something that we can come back to. It's the kind of thing that you could fall into the wrong hands, or it's the kind of thing where someone presumably they had people that they experimented on it with.
Yeah.
Presumably he was doing it potentially with Section 31. Maybe Section 31 comes into this shit, So it's definitely the kind of thing where we know enough now, but we don't know everything, and it's probably something that we're going to see more of.
Yeah. No, I'd be happy with that. A flashback even further to the development of it, and the first taking of it, I think would be interesting enough. There is a bit of a continuity thing with this episode, in that opening up
the
you
uniforms.
See the uniforms that that, but also the Klingons in it. Obviously you get a bit of a neck snap whatever of it, shows the Takuvma and Remain Klingon from Discovery season 1, and you're just like, okay, that's what we were going with Klingons, and then they look like this anyway.
Klingon Master Ajaj.
But very slowly, because Discovery Season 1 Klingons, they had the teeth and they had to speak like...
Klingon Master Ajaj.
That, like that. But also, all the Klingons in this episode, when it's in the flashback, have hair. And in Discovery, they say, oh no, now the war is over. All our Klingons are regrowing their hair because... Because we're trying to do a bit of wanky cover to say why Klingons look different now.
We forgot. Yeah. I think someone forgot about that bit.
Slightly forgot, yeah. And it would have been, again, you use episodes like this to show both types of Klingon. Why? Sure, okay, why not?
But there was some cool bits when we do see that fight scene where we see fucking Mbenga stab a Klingon in the head.
Yeah.
Ugh! But before we see him actually do that, we just see a knife.
Yeah.
With just hair on it. just like a chunk of flesh
Hair
and
and blood.
hair on it on the knife,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, oh.
It's either very thick hair as well, like, or wig hair. And I was just
Yeah,
like, oh, that looks so much like wig hair.
that's Klingon hair. Klingon
Yeah,
hair looks like wig hair. It's
that's how
funny
I
that.
like
Funny that, innit?
no priced it in my head. I was just like, yeah, Klingons, maybe they have thicker hair. I don't know.
Sure.
Sure, why not? Should we talk about the Klingon of the episode though?
Yes.
So Dick Ra or Dal Ra or something like that.
Dal Ra.
Dal Ra or Ra. Originally, I thought
just-
like this guy seems like such a like affable guy for a Klingon. Like he walks onto the bridge.
Doc Ra.
Doc Ra.
Doc Ra.
Dr. Ra. He
Not
walks on the
Tok'ra,
bridge.
because that's from Stargate.
Yeah. Oh, if only. He did seem like a Stargate style actor, and
He was very
unfortunately he's not.
Stargatey.
He walks on the bridge and he's getting badmouthed, and he's like, he completely ignores that like no Klingon would. He gets his hand burnt by Raktajino, and he's just like, yep, okay, well, it's a good thing, Klingons are made of sterner stuff. He seems very affable, and then by the end of it, because of acting, he's just like, this guy is such a shite.
In it,
Yeah.
like that's the thing. He's such a shit. He's just like, he just kind of seems like a sleazy politician by the end of it. Like like
Yeah.
you say, he goes from being like, oh, he's a nice guy Klingon who's ingratiated himself with the Federation, and by the end of the episode, you see that he really needs people to see him as having ingratiated himself with the Federation, because like because he's built his entire he's Klingon, it's all reputation, and his reputation with the Klingons is fucked, and the kind of the story that he's built for himself is what has led to his position in the Federation as an ambassador, and he needs to maintain that idea that people have of him, in spite of the fact that it's all built on lies.
Yeah, and he's such a dick to people in the episode. He's just like, and I'm here to heal you and stuff like that. He's a bit like Cyborg, where he's just like, me, I'm your solution to stuff. Because I've transitioned to being a warlord, to being a good guy, sort of crap. And it's just like, he's, as you say, he's just in it for his own gains, as the Klingons probably thought he was like, massacred his own people. And the Federation are willing to believe in reform, or somewhat like the Allies after World War II are willing to take someone who will defect, even if they were the worst person in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Operation Paperclip, if anyone wants to look that up.
And Universal Paperclips, the game that has ruined my thumb over the last 2 weeks. Completely different topic, but just paperclip based. Ruined my hand.
Bastard Paperclips.
It's a claw now rather than a hand.
So we have Mbenga and Chapel working through their stuff. Like when Dokra comes in, they are immediately like, oh shit, it's the guy from when we were at war. It's the guy we were fighting against. Yeah. And you just see Mbenga with full Gowron eyes. like it was and he just fucking dips, because like he probably thinks, because of something that we find out by the end of the episode, he might recognize me.
Yeah.
Not only throughout the episode, we're it's hinted at that there's more going on than just the trauma of war and having fought against this guy. You get the sense that there is more of a past there. There is a connection between Mbenga and Dokra, but then through their interactions, it doesn't seem to be from, like, Dokra doesn't seem to be aware of it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of set up where it is a episode where it's saying, oh, is Dokra actually reformed? You know, because that seems to be the question people are asking, like Ortegas and stuff like that. It's like, no, if he's Klingon, you know, if he was shouting remain Klingon, then he can't be someone who reforms. You know, that's not something that happens to someone like that. So that feels like that I thought was a good switch of the episode, because I was like, oh, is he reformed? I didn't expect, you know, until the flashback gets to that point, you know, what the actual twist is, which I think is an amazing scene.
Like, in many ways, he hasn't reformed, but also, like, he wasn't reforming from anything. You know, by the end of the episode, you see that, like, you know, when he was shouting Klingon Makta Judge, he didn't really mean it. He was just saying he was just saying and doing what he needed to get through, you know? He was...
No, I don't believe that. Because I think if Mbenga didn't kill all his generals, so spoiler alert, which we're already way into spoilers.
Yeah,
and
like,
Mbenga's the one
the
that
thing.
killed all his generals. If he got out there and had all his generals alive, he would have just lost one battle in a war, and all of his generals would have backed him up, and he would have been fine within the Empire. You know, he would have been the person who slaughtered, you know, not civilians, but combatants who were not.
But it was all for
Klingon.
himself.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like, it's all just because if someone's saying, yeah, you have glory, you have honor, he's gonna totally go with that. Like, Mbenga goes to kill Dokra, and he kills all of his generals, and Dokra escapes, and he, you know, the order of events is kind of told to us in the episode. He escapes, he gets picked up by the Federation, and he tells them, I killed my generals so that I could escape to get to you, so that I could defect to you guys. Now, if anyone wants to go and check, they'll see that those generals are dead. Like, it's, you know,
by Klingon blade. Yeah.
He's just saying the things that he needs to say in order to maintain any kind of power that he can keep hold of. And I think that that's the same. Like, because by the end of the episode, at no point does he say, like, remain Klingon again. Like, he has, you know, there is a reading that he is reformed. He's trying to do and be something else. But he hasn't not reformed, but he's also not the thing that he's pretending to be now. He's just a shit. He was a shit then. He was like, kill anyone that isn't a Klingon soldier, because that is just like, just go out and do the thing.
Murder.
Just go out and kill everyone. No, there's no tactical, like, nuance to that whatsoever. Just go out and fucking kill everyone who isn't wearing the same colors as you. Like, no strategy. He gets picked up by the Federation. He says what he needs to get by. He's on the Enterprise, and he's saying what he thinks he needs to in order to get people to like him. He's not an honorable Klingon. He's not a reformed man. He's a cunt.
I can understand that reading of it. In my reading of it that I got, which were, you know, for whatever reason, I got this reading of it where he knows the Klingons aren't at war anymore. He knows that war with the Federation isn't honorable, or, you know, isn't something that is looked upon heavily. Maybe he was never invested in the remain Klingon ideology. But he's invested in the peace talks and being an ambassador. You know, he's invested in being that, which I think makes it More interesting then, less interesting on his side, but more interesting on the Mbenga killing him side, where it's just like, no, there's some things you don't reform from. You put orders together that were killing women and children. There's some things that you don't reform from. I'm going to kill you, sort of thing. So I think in my reading, he had in his mind tried to reform, which I suppose we can talk about in a couple of minutes or whatever. You know, what is reforming and who can reform and who can't.
Yeah.
He in his mind he had, and he was doing good, but you know it's not good enough. The war hasn't left Mbenga, so Mbenga has to end. Mbenga says to Pike at the end. He doesn't say, you know. He says something to the effect of, "He started this fight, I finished it," or "He started this fight, and that's the way it went." The same way Chapel says, the knife that killed him was the butcher's knife.
Yeah.
You know, doesn't say it was Dick Ra, whatever his fucking name is, Ra's
Doc Ra.
knife. Doc Ra knife. It says it's the butcher's knife. And
the butcher
Mbenga's
of
like,
Jagal. That's a fucking great
Jagal.
moment when fucking Mbenga just turns around and he's like, I am the butcher of Jagal.
Yeah.
Like, fuck yeah,
fantastic.
man.
Yeah.
Really reminded me of Duet when he's just like, I am the butcher of Galatep.
Galatep. That's why it's like, it's so in my mind that this is just like a duet version, because it's like the butcher of this and people pretending to be the butcher. Yeah. Well, let's. It's not necessarily Star Trek, but in your mind, then, because Star Trek poses questions. I don't know if you know this, but Star Trek sometimes poses questions of our own world.
I've heard that there's some nuance to the odd bit of Star Trek. Yeah.
Yeah. So the question I have for this one is, and it's not something that gets answered by the episode, because I don't think it is something that has a definitive answer.
No.
Is everyone deserving of a second chance and reformation, and what do they need to do to earn it? For yourself.
Well, I mean, sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes, no. Because the problem is, in order to answer that question, there are other questions that need to be asked. And the question, again, that I had in my mind is, are people justified in seeking revenge? Because for the most part, you would say no. But then sometimes there are people that are so despicable, someone needs to do something.
Yeah.
You know, someone needs to do something. And we get in the episode of like, but who Pike asks Mbenga, who decides who that person is? And like, when they decide who that person is, how do they decide what the punishment is, or when to stop? You know,
there's a reason why in general, you know, the world we have at the moment, we don't ask the victim of a crime how to punish the perpetrator, because you know they tend to be over enthusiastic with punishment, let's say, because they were personally affected. And that's why, you know, as Pike says, there's due process. You know.
Yeah. You have, you know, as an example, Gary Plowshay was a man. There's news footage of him shooting the murderer of his child.
Yeah,
or the,
I remember this. The court footage.
The man who, you know. Let me just make sure I'm getting that story straight. Oh no, he didn't murder his child. He abused his child.
Yeah,
he raped his child.
Yeah.
And you know, you see him being led through an airport, and you see a guy on the phone, and he puts the phone down, just turns around, boom.
Yeah.
Now, morally justified? Questionable. You know? Was that man was the I'm not going to say victim, but was his child's attacker? Was he
Yeah.
was he deserved of a second chance? Was it Gary Blanchet's right to kill that man
Yeah.
in recompense? Was he justified? Morally justified? Potentially. Legally? No.
Well, legally, no. Yeah.
Legally, no. Like, that's murder. You can't do a murder. But I'm sure most people would say, I would do the same.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know?
You abused one of my family in that way, and I'd happily take you out. And there's a reason why in prison, apparently, because it's always one of the adages people say, child abusers and people like that do very poorly in prison.
Yep, it's a general thing. Like, you go to prison, and the first thing that happens when you go to prison in America is the fellow inmates will demand to see your paperwork. Why are you here?
Yeah.
And if you don't provide paperwork, they will immediately take that as a sign that you have touched up kids. It's like you say, there is no answer, because in order to answer one of these questions of does everyone deserve a chance at retribution, can vengeance be morally justified, and who gets to decide who gets to do that? Like, you can't answer one of those questions. You can't answer all three. You can't have a unilateral answer, and you can't answer any one of them without, like, not straight up not being able to answer the other ones. So
Yeah. In my mind, unshockingly, I think due process is a great idea. I think eye for an eye is probably a poor idea. A movie I saw only fairly recently about capturing. It was Israel capturing a Nazi who'd escaped, and it was Oscar Isaacs playing, one of the people who captured him. I think being captured and being put on trial, is much better than being killed. Shocker.
for them, yeah.
Well, no,
But not for the taxpayer.
well, but I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to decide, even though I think it's insane. The cost of keeping someone who that you never intend to release, is just insane. I don't want to be necessarily part of a state that just kills people because they think cost is something to do with it. Because then there's a line on where cost is drawn. If someone steals food to feed their family and then you have to jail them for a year, that's a cost. And then entering them into the social services system, that's a cost. And I don't want to enter into it being drawing a line on where the cost is. So there's that not drawing the line. But I also think for reformation, which this guy is trying to do, he's trying to reform himself or be a reformed character. You've got to own up to what you did. And this guy, before Mbenga calls him out on it, he's just like, no, my generals, were the ones who killed women and children.
It had to be. Yeah, they did it, and it was war. Like, I didn't have a choice.
Yeah, and I'm the one who killed them because they were morally unjust. And unless you accept what you did, you can't reform.
Yeah,
I think that's got to be a line in the sand for anyone trying to reform. Is you've got to accept what you did, realize the impact, and then accept that onto your psyche of, I did bad, I need to grow from that. Whereas if you live a lie, as is covered in this episode, then you start to believe it. He started to believe that it wasn't him. It was his generals. He's a reformed character. I killed my generals, obviously. I'm reformed, whatever.
See?
And
Look, yeah, exactly.
there's no blood on my hands other than the blood of kid murderers. Woohoo!
Yeah.
Yeah, and you don't reform that way. That's not reformation. That's lying to yourself and other people. So yeah, fuck that guy.
And I think it was a clever kind of plot twist to say no, you didn't. That didn't happen. You didn't kill your generals. I fucking did it.
Yeah.
You're a fucking coward.
You. Yeah.
Because I was trying to fucking kill you.
Yeah.
And then, Dokra, the way that the kind of the fight ends up panning out is he becomes so needy. He's grasping at straws.
He's touching his shoulder and shit like this.
No,
it's
you would please
don't
be
touch
my
this
friend.
dude.
I would please be my friend. And it's he can see his whole house of cards just tumbling down. And then we get that awesome shot from the other side of the frosted glass.
Yeah. Which makes it ambiguous, of course, whether he killed him or, who pulled the knife, we don't see.
The thing is...
We can guess who pulled the knife, but we don't
can definitely
see.
Guess, but the thing is, the knife was in the box behind Mbenga, right? And then they they start having the tussle out into the middle of the room. The only way, and the way that they were stood, that is where Dokra falls when he dies.
Yeah.
So the only way that knife got in that man is if Mbenga pushed him away, turned around, grabbed the knife, and fucking stabbed him.
Yeah.
It's presented as though Dokra had the knife and Mbenga wrestled it and stabbed him, but Mbenga took an opportunity there. He was not. He was very clearly trying his hardest to not stab that man for a long time.
Yeah, yeah.
He was trying really hard not to stab him, and then he pushed him because he started seeing everything fall apart. And because he's needy and he needs people to believe his bullshit, he's no, please be my friend. And Mbenga's just no, and just fucking loses it.
Yeah. And I thought it was really smart as well that, although it's dumb in science and context or whatever, but the blood on the blade is his general's, which means it's the butcher's blade. And because Ra has said he was the butcher, that's all the evidence they need to be no, this was his blade. He pulled the blade. Mm-hmm. Whereas, obviously we know it's in Mbenga's blade, and then Chapel saying, no, it was the butcher's blade. Ra was killed with a butcher's blade, which you've said he's the butcher, so that means he's the butcher. And you can see Pike do Pike kind of knows, and that's why he goes to see Mbenga, which is also, one of the best scenes this season as well, where it's about, people who haven't been in these situations casting their moral ideals on people who have.
Yeah.
And, in the same way, say about you can't get, or you probably shouldn't have the people who were impacted by a crime be the ones who decide the punishment. There's a reason why the jury tends to be 12 people who weren't connected with a crime.
Yeah.
You can't push the ideals of Starfleet on a man who, he knows those are ideals, but ideals are something you try and live up to. It's not something you meet all the time, every day. Mm-hmm. And Mbenga's in this situation that is a 1 in a million situation of being put in front of someone who killed children pretty much in front of him. So you can't put those ideals that Pike had because he wasn't even involved in the war, this fucking dickhead captain, who's trying to put the ideals onto Mbenga.
You know, and when he presents him, the old question of like, of shifting the paradigm of saying like, no, it was an accident. But what if he killed children and it wasn't an accident? Like, what if I didn't kill him by accident, but he deserved it? How would you feel then? And like he says, like, I'm not sad he died. I didn't intend for him to die, but I'm not sad that it happened. And that's like, that is what happened. Like, whether or not Mbenga, intended to kill him, it doesn't really matter. He died, and it's fine.
Yeah. There's potential, he could have been an asset between Klingon and human relations, but realistically, fuck that guy.
Do you want him? You know, the well is tainted. As wise as he was, the fucking the font of wisdom that he's fucking spouting is a font of children's blood.
Yeah, that bastard.
Klingon bastard.
You Klingon bastard. You're my son. Did you have anything else for the episode?
One more thing.
Yeah.
Is Ortega's racist?
Yeah.
Because, like, she doesn't like Klingons. In last week's episode, she's the stand-in for the racist guy dealing with Romulans.
Oh, in last season, yeah. Well, she
might be a little bit racist.
I mean, she's someone...
She's prejudiced.
Again, war, prejudiced, and war has affected her in that manner. And, you can 100% understand in World War II, especially in the Pacific, where people looked different to each other, or more different to each other, people being racist because, that was what the propaganda said the enemy was, and that's, part of people who look like that, a proportion of them were the enemy. So, it's not a good thing, it's not a right thing. Yeah, Iwo Jima. It's not a good thing, it's not a right thing, but she's a racist.
A little bit.
Yeah.
She's got to work that out.
Did you have any messages for the episode?
Just questions, man.
Just questions, man.
Just questions. Just unanswerable questions.
I had wars change people. You can't understand if you weren't there, man.
You weren't there, man. I know what I saw.
And ideals are things that people ideally are. People who have baggage can't always live up to those ideals. I had those as messages for the episode. But this is, considering how flat the rest of the season has felt, this I thought was a really strong episode.
Yeah. No, the only messages that I got were, like I say, questions. So for the viewers and the listeners, maybe pull yourself out a drink and think about, things like, is everyone deserved of redemption? Can vengeance be justified? And if it is, who decides?
Yeah. All good questions that I don't think there are a definitive answer for. And, Trek poses these sometimes, and it's good when it does. Yeah. Cool. Then
we are so fucking deep. We are deep as
man.
Fuck.
How deep is this fucking episode compared to the those old scientists where it's just like,
it just went, whoa,
no fucking story.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Up and down. And then especially compared to presumably next week's episode.
I hate musicals.
Once
by the
more
way.
with feeling. Oh no, that's the Buffy episode.
Yeah.
So,
Buffy
yeah.
episode was good. Buffy episode had an underlying story that was worth it. If you look at most musical episodes, I'm just like, fuck me, man. Half these cast can't sing. And I know Celia Rose Gooding can sing, and I know La'an, what's her name?
Yeah.
She's a singer as well.
I bet Anson Mount's got a nice baritone.
I've seen a
Ethan
video of
Peck.
him singing on the Star Trek cruise, so
Nice.
he
I bet he can
sing.
croon, and I bet Rebecca Romaine's got something.
Yeah,
I bet Ortegas. It's probably not. I
maybe.
don't know. I've not got
Yeah.
faith in Ortegas. Do we think Mbenga's gonna sing?
no. I mean, the mics were
again.
breaking this episode. Did you notice at the very end, just before the scuffle, the mics were like so noisy, and it's just like, yeah, you've had to turn those mics to like maximum to pick up, to pick up Mbenga talking.
It's my acting style. It's my acting. I'm a whisperer.
Yeah. But yeah, fucking musicals. We can talk about them next week, though. Fuck musicals. This
I'm
episode
excited.
is too long already.
Yeah.
So fucking done with this episode. Okay. Well, then, if that's all we have for this week, then it is like, subscribe, comment, review,
do a-
stars,
follow
whatever,
us-
all that bullshit.
Follow us on TikTok and Threads and Instagram and
X.com.
what? No, don't follow us on X. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Fucking X.
Yeah.
For people who are listening to this and not watching, I'm doing the wanker hand sign.
Yeah. For obvious reasons. Guess all the reasons, and you hit all the correct ones. Then if that's all we have for this week, then do we want to say goodbye and
Live long and prosper, motherfuckers.
peace and long life, double dumbasses?